This is going to be a lot to digest, but please follow me. And I'm going to treat this particular topic from a very different perspective. Okay. Have you wondered why a team that wins, and I mean a team that wins heavy, being it a club side or a national side, anytime you check their midfield, the guy leading their midfield pack is always cast in a specific mode. It could be AC Milan, Inter, Real, Barca. You go in their midfield, you check, they might have some great midfielders in there, but the guy leading the pack is always cast in a specific mode across Europe or across the entire world. The AC Milan, they had their Ambrosinis, they have their Clarence Seedorf, but you go in there and you check, and it is Pelu leading them. You go to Real Madrid, they have their own version of the Casemiro, some guys on the bench, but the one leading the midfield pack, a Toni Kroos or a Luka Modric. You go to Barca, of course, they have their own version of the Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets. You go to a United, and it is Paul Scholes. Even though they have some great midfielders, it is Paul Scholes leading the pack. Later, it became a Michael Carrick. Inter Milan, the famous Inter Milan, they have some great midfielders, but it was Wesley Schneider. Have you wondered why the guys leading the pack always look similar? Have you wondered why? It's because the midfield operates in four abstracts. It doesn't matter who you are, you need to fall in that particular four abstract, else you might not end up winning a lot of trophies. So all the guys who have the GAs supporting them, you realize the guys who do not have a lot of GAs supporting them end up winning more trophies than the guys who have the GAs supporting them. So I just spoke on the abstract, which is intuitiveness, counterintuitiveness, technical ability, and then possession and dominance. These four things: intuition, counterintuition, technical ability, and possession and dominance. Out of these four things, if everything is in correct margins, the outcome, good decision making. And why am I starting the whole argument this way? I've been following the Bruno Fernandes, Pedri, Gonzalez argument online, TikTok. People even keep tagging me all the time. And listen, I've realized most football content creators out there like to use stats to advance their argument, which is right if you know exactly what you are looking at. But the more you listen to them, you can tell a lot of them do not even know how to read a stat sheet. For you to get a proper meaning of a stat sheet, you need to merge the stat part with the player profile. You can't do that in isolation. You need to look at the player profile concerning the stat sheet. That's the only way you can understand a player's profile and a stat properly. So one of our guys on here who we all respect was trying to explain to us why he thinks Bruno Fernandes is better than Pedri on a stat sheet, and he was running us through some few stats. And one, he said Bruno Fernandes have more tackles, and two, Bruno Fernandes have more clearances. And I'm like, this is where I draw the line. You don't even know how to read a stat sheet properly concerning two players. Okay, if you are looking at Bruno Fernandes and you are looking at Pedri, Pedri Gonzalez and his team play football handling the leather. Bruno Fernandes, on the other hand, with United, play football 50% of the time trying to retrieve the leather. So between the two of them, who is going to have more tackles? If you don't understand, let me break it down further. Hypothetically, if there's a match between Barcelona and United, there's a higher probability Barcelona will be in dominance and it will be United trying to retrieve the ball. So if it is Pedri who has possession of the ball and Bruno Fernandes is trying to retrieve the ball, tell me who will go into more tackles? It's basic common sense. And that is what their games are built on. Pedri's game is built on handling the leather. Is he supposed to be tackling himself? So common sense will tell you anytime he meets the opponent, there's a higher probability the opponent are the ones trying to retrieve the ball. So they are going to get into more tackles. And there's one thing that got my attention. He said Bruno Fernandes have more aerial duels. And I'm like, you people do not know exactly what you are talking about. You look at the average way of playing football, from the knee level to the turf is maybe the 40%. From the waist to a knee level is maybe a 20%. From the shoulder to the waist level is maybe a 20%. And then from the shoulder upwards is just a 10%. Any football team that play football using the shoulder to the head level, that 10% are not a very good team. And that is what United is. Is the reason why they have been struggling for many years. They have never been a good team for almost over a decade now. If you play football from the shoulder level to the, which means you are not creative enough. So out of the 10%, 4% might be for clearance, 4% might be for scoring, and the 2% might be for ball control. It is very difficult controlling the ball with your head because you don't have a lot of relaxed muscle in your skull. But on your chest, on your thigh, you can relax the muscle to release the ball, like chesting the ball, receiving the ball on the thigh, breaking the ball. You can relax most muscles in that body area to get the ball under control. But controlling the ball with your skull is very difficult. So if you get a team who always play football relying on the 10%, the shoulder upwards, they are not a very good team. Like the famous Stoke side, they were very complicated and difficult side to play with. But what did they win? They were not a very good team. They only made things difficult just because of their strength and their aerial ability. My whole point is you are supposed to understand a stat sheet. You don't just read a stat sheet, you interpret a stat sheet. So if there's a stat sheet you are looking at comparing to two players, you need to understand what you are reading against and for. Did that even make sense? Let's just take it that way. Okay, so there is no way on earth Bruno Fernandes is a better footballer than Pedri Gonzalez. Everything in football comes down to decision making. Decision making, which is what is the right time to release the ball. Okay, how do I slow the game? How do I speed up the game? And in the midfield department is the things I spoke on. The things we are dealing with in the midfield department, Ginier doesn't explain them. Intuition, counter intuition, technical ability, and possession and dominance. Something Ginier has nothing on. Yes, if you are able to get some goals and assists, that is fine. But in that particular department, whether you were a CM, I said CM, a DM or a AM, you fall into these particular four abstracts. If you follow these four abstracts diligently, you are going to win a lot of trophies over anyone who has GA on their side. So Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Bruno Fernandes, they all have the GAs. Guess who are winning? The Xavi Hernandez, the Iniestas, the Andre Pelos, the Luka Modric's. They do not have GA supporting what they are doing, but they end up winning. That should tell you that particular department operates a certain way. The GA leave that for the guys who are supposed to be dealing with their GAs, the attackers. They need the GA to support their argument. In the midfield role, in these four abstracts, the GA doesn't really mean much. Just like when you are dealing with defense, it deals with coercion, chain movement. It's a topic I'll have to treat another day. I would have to finish this particular book. Okay, so that's it. Putting Bruno Fernandes and Pedro Gonzalez in the same sentence just because one has GA is kind of funny.